Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today, we start this episode off with two bits of big news here in the career mode. The first one being myself and Joey Logano involved, as NASCAR has announced this week that they will suspend both Logano and myself if they run into each other once more throughout the rest of the season. This announcement comes after a long physical rivalry between Logano and myself, as I'll expand upon that just after this next announcement of Tyler Reddick will move over to Chip Ganassi Racing next season in the 42 car. Reddick will join Gregson as well as Timmy Hill as the third CGR driver, as Richard Childress Racing is potentially looking at Zane Smith as a replacement. McLaren is rumored to be releasing Smith from the team at the end of the season as they look to sign a new driver. So some big news starting off today as we move into this race weekend here at Dover for the Truck Series race. To start things off, no Xfinity today, so just trucks as well as the Cup Series. Not at Dover, actually, for trucks, by the way. I should mention we are at Gateway for the Truck Series race. We had subscriber Stewie Moore in the truck for us here at Gateway for the first race of the playoffs, by the way, here in the Truck Series. And I just really want to quickly expand upon that news between myself and Logano. NASCAR saying if myself or Joey run into each other one more time at all throughout the rest of this season, playoffs included, we will both, not just one of us, but both, be suspended for at least one race, potentially maybe even longer, as this rivalry has continued on for so long, way longer than it needs to be. So this should really put us in a spot to where hopefully we can get that rivalry dealt with and back to a friendly status with Logano, because if we run into him, both of us are gone, and if that happens in the playoffs, I mean, that is going to be crucial to both of our seasons, of course, now, as we are only going to have one race left in the regular season at the end of this episode after Dover. Now, as you see, though, Stewie Moore was working his way through traffic, really no problems at all. Now he was up to P3 in the very opening laps, but he came through now a little bit later, passing the 13 of Johnny Sauter as he came through out of turns 4, and it was looking really good for us. But once he kind of got to second place here after passing Sauter, he kind of stalled out for the rest of this race and just would kind of remain in that second position here for the remainder of this first race of the playoffs here in the Truck Series as we come through turns 3 and 4 for the final time here at Gateway. So nonetheless, a great effort here from Stewie Moore as we come through out of turns 4. It's going to be a runner-up second place finish in the first race of the playoffs at Gateway. Now, obviously, we haven't had as dominant of a season here in the Truck Series as we did last season. We won the championship, we won a ton of races. Hasn't quite been to that caliber this season, but it has still been a great season either way so far, and it continues with that runner-up finish here tonight at Gateway. There, as you see the rest of the finishing order with Mike Carmen, Clay Greenfield there at the bottom now, as we actually do have an Xfinity race. I completely forgot that we actually had this. So here we are at Dover, sure enough, with Paul Menard behind the wheel, and we have some brand new modded paint schemes, two of them here with us this episode, and that's going to be for the 1 car of Timmy Hill, as well as the 20 car of Christian Eckes. So once again, FRG Designs made these paint schemes for my career mode here in the Xfinity Series, and they look great, and you're going to see them right off the bat here, just in front of us on that row in front. Timmy Hill in that 1 car with the Target paint scheme based off of what I'm assuming Kyle Larson's 2014/2015 paint scheme. Looks very similar to that now, but nonetheless looks tremendous on the racetrack, and you're going to see the Christian Eckes paint scheme as well in just a few moments here on the track as Menard was trying to work his way through traffic. He got down to that inside line, and right now it was Kevin Magnussen, the former F1 driver, currently out in front, still looking for his first oval Xfinity Series win here today, but it was going to be tough to come by now as he came through out of turn 2. Menard a little bit sideways there, but Magnussen's lead really wouldn't last that long. He was under pressure from Sam Mayer, who was in second for the time being. Now, as Mayer would end up giving up the second place, though, to the number 07 of Ray Black Jr., who would end up taking the lead as well here later in the race. Now, as you see that 20 car of Christian Eckes with that brand new modded paint scheme, as well as we come through at a turn 4. So now it was the 07 of Ray Black Jr. leading, in a position to put himself into the playoffs and put Quinn Helf on the outside looking in, who's currently 4th in the overall standings. And that is exactly what would happen here as it came through to the final lap out of turns 4. Ray Black Jr. wins in the Xfinity Series at Dover. We come through to cross the line with Menard there in the top 10. But this is really big for the Xfinity Series playoff grid right here. Still quite a few races left in the regular season for Xfinity, but Quinn Helf, who is 4th in the overall standings because he doesn't have a win, is actually outside of the playoffs now. So he is in a situation where he has to win his way into the playoffs, yet he's 4th in the points, which is baffling, but that's just the way it is, unfortunately, for some of these drivers now. As I don't think we've seen a case like that happen yet so far in the career mode, but there's definitely a first time for everything, I guess, there. there. As you see, Mike Harmon, 2 races in a row there, the Truck Series and Xfinity Series all the way at the bottom of the field. So now we come through into the Cup Series race for myself. We actually have the members car back on track for the first time this season. We ran it last season, if you guys remember, back at Phoenix for the season finale as we come through into qualifying. The goal was to hit a 23.745. All the members' names on the car for us here today. If you want to get your name on the car for points in this season and to be at the end of the video, you can join the membership program there, as we gained a P10 starting spot with a 23.269 here at Dover. So a solid qualifying effort. The car felt a little bit loose, so I definitely was planning to run a tighter preset in the races. Alex Bowman qualifies on pole. We've seen a lot of speed out of that number 48 car this season now as we get ready to go green. As you look at the rest of the qualifying effort at the very bottom of the field, we got John Hunter Nemechek as well as Joey Gase. There's just another look at the car right there that we are running for the members of the channel, as I would like to thank you guys right now for the support you have provided me here over the last few months. It really does mean a lot since we started that up. As we come through, though, into the race, getting ready to take the green flag. Alright, boys, Watkins Glen didn't go like we wanted it to, and now we're kind of on probation, I guess, so, I'll play it safe and make sure we don't run into that 22. I guess that's the main goal for the rest of the year. There you hear myself on the radio getting ready to take the green flag, just kind of mentioning how I'm going to race here against especially Joey Logano as Chase Briscoe. He had an unapproved body modification during qualifying. He'll be starting at the back, as well as Brad Keselowski, who had an engine change after qualifying, will be starting at the back there. As you also saw Alex Bowman getting ready to take the green flag here from pole position as we get ready on this outside line here from P10. Now as the green flag is out, Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch lead the field to the green flag, and I immediately didn't even realize, but I noticed now Joey Logano is on the very row behind myself here. So I decide into turns 1, I'm out of the way. Nope, you can go by, Joey, and I am not dealing with you here on the initial start, because if we run into each other, we're both gone. But I guess if we were going to get suspended, it'd be better to do it in the regular season. But like I said, I was getting out of his way, did not want any part of that right there. Now, as Logano has been suspended in the career mode before, way back, last season, going into the Kansas race, Joey Logano was suspended for what he did to myself on track, and then Austin Cindric filled in that 22 car and nearly won in that thing, and then Haley Deegan actually filled in for Cindric in the 21 and had a very strong top 10 run as well. Now, as we go down this back straight, we're already 3 wide as we go down into turn 3, getting up the inside of Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney and Cindric currently battling it out for that final spot in the playoffs. Cindric has made one heck of a comeback so far, and he looks to continue that and get into the playoffs here this season in that 33 car now. So 2 Penske Racing teammates going at it with each other for that final spot, but Blaney is in a pretty comfortable spot. He's likely going to have something go wrong for Cindric to really be able to beat him now, but at the same time, we got Daytona in the next episode where anything can happen. As you can see, I had run down my rival of Joey Logano, and I was struggling to pass him. I couldn't pass him on the top. He was going to put me in the wall, and I couldn't really pass him on the bottom because, well, he was covering the bottom. So I was really just hoping that he would jump up to the outside lane or decide right here, you know what, this is our opportunity to take a 3 wide when Custer looks to the inside, but then Custer backs out, and then he actually commits to the inside of Logano again, so now I do it as well. And sure enough, as we come through out of turns 4, we clear our rival of Logano, who clearly does not have a lot of speed in that 22 car here today. So that was just playing into an advantage towards myself, as now halfway already, just about into stage 1, we were starting to work our way back through the field here, passing Derek Kraus in that 95, who will be on that second 2311 racing car next season in the number 45. Teammates along with Bubba Wallace now as we were passing our affiliate teammate of Byron, as well as Alex Bowman, who is on pole, who doesn't have a lot of speed. Clearly, we were now at the inside of Chase Elliott as we came through out of turns 4. Ryan Preece was out front leading the way, now definitely putting himself in a better position to make sure he stays in the top 30 in points here. Preece has a win this season at Martinsville Speedway, but right now he's like 28th in the points and at risk of potentially falling out of that top 30 if everything goes wrong and missing the playoffs. Now, hasn't been the season they were looking for, other than the fact that they do have that win at Martinsville, but right now leading the way late in this first stage, which is of course not a very long stage here at Dover, as we were continuing to move our way through the traffic now up the inside of that 20 of Christopher Bell, as sure enough out of turns 2 we would be able to clear him, get up the inside of Eric Jones in the McLaren, as that outside momentum pays off for Bell though to get side by side as we go down into turns 3. But now already up inside the top 10, I was feeling very confident in the car. Usually we don't have winning speed here at Dover, but you never know what's going to happen now, as we were up the inside as well of Kyle Busch on the exit of turn 2, approaching the final 3 laps of this first and opening stage here at Dover. Now as we go down into the corner, we are going to be able to clear Kyle Busch, move up into P8. following Eric Jones there in that McLaren. Now as we came to approaching the final lap of stage 1, sending it up the inside of that McLaren of Jones, but he does a good job right here pinching me down on this bottom lane, and it's very easy to pass on the bottom, but when that driver that you're trying to pass on the inside just kind of pinches you down on that bottom lane, it becomes a lot more difficult to complete the pass here. As we're on this final lap now of stage 1. Ryan Preece leads the way into turns 3 and 4 for the final time. We're still side by side with Eric Jones down this back straight away into turns 3 and 4. Here it's going to be close now as he continues to pinch us down, doing nothing wrong now as we come through out of turns 4, and sure enough, Eric Jones is going to actually get us at the line, so we have to settle here behind that 0-2 McLaren car for P8 as Ryan Preece wins stage 2 here. So a tremendous effort from Ryan Preece in this opening stage as Tyler Reddick's up there in the mix. Austin Cindric, who got some stage points. Ryan Blaney did not get stage points. So all of a sudden, it looks like Cindric has a legitimate chance here of potentially making the playoffs and beating Ryan Blaney, which would be a huge surprise now as we are coming into the pit lane though for 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 fresh tires as we get ready to go green for the start of this second stage here at Dover. As you see the rest of the order on your screen, drivers like Denny Hamlin struggling here today, Alex Bowman, Ross Chastain having a terrible race so far. Logano has been following down the order as well. So definitely going to have to keep an eye on some of those big names as we gain 1 spot on the pit lane, overtaking Eric Jones here. So we move up into P7 on the inside line as Ryan Preece and Kyle Larson lead the field back to the green flag here. Stage 2 is underway, and of course for the start of stage 2, we'll go through into the M segment here at Dover. There you had the amp segment here from Dover. Now, as you can see in your top left, we have a lot of racing to go here in stage 2, a very lengthy one compared to stage 1, as we now clear the 33 of Austin Cindric, move up into P5 as Bubba Wallace is up there in P3 behind Ryan Preece, who is trying to retake that lead from the number 8 car of Tyler Reddick. Reddick just announced, of course, going to Chip Ganassi Racing in the 42 car next season. Definitely going to be a good opportunity, I think, for Reddick here in the career mode. Now, as actually you saw me slip up there through 3 and 4, allowing that door to be open for Harrison Burton as well as Austin Cindric to drive on by, so we drop back down into P7 here. The short run speed definitely wasn't that great in the car, but it was still good enough to, of course, hold on to a top 10 here as myself and Austin Cindric there in that Penske 33 Money Lion Ford Mustang would get into quite the scrap here for that 6 and 7 spot. Some contact there as we came through out of turn 2. We clear the number 33 of Cindric, but then have a slide out of turn 4, lap 6, opening the door back open for the 33 to slip by on the inside with 31 laps remaining here in stage 2. Preece out front, Larson second. They started scrapping it out for the lead. Larson was on the outside, Preece on the bottom. I'm again up the inside of the 33 of Cindric, and out of turns 4 we clear him again, but this time we finally kind of got him dealt with and started to pull away here as we came through now on lap 15. Larson back out in front, and now he was starting to open up a bit of a gap. Unless he would go to the top, then he would lose a ton of time, which is always a very common thing here at Dover, is when the AI drivers for some reason decide to go to the top, they lose so much time and positions. We've seen Chase Elliott, I remember, completely throw a win away at this racetrack because he decided to go up to the top, and Larson would end up dropping to P3 after going to the top, after dropping it down behind Harrison Burton. Preece back out in front as lap traffic was now starting to become a factor here at the midway point of stage 2. So getting through the traffic really wasn't much of an issue for myself as we were running down 4th place of Bubba Wallace. A great day for this team as they will for sure be in the playoffs this season. Finally, for the first time, that 2311 car will be a playoff contender now. Still looking for their first win as we were 3 wide with Bubba Wallace as well as Anthony Alfredo. Definitely look for potentially Alfredo to go elsewhere next season in the career mode now, as I will have an announcement likely on that soon, as we are going to have to wait for some more news to kind of come out from other teams now. As we came through on lap 22, I decided decided, you know what, we're going to pit right here. We had to pit within about 4 or 5 laps. I decided to pit on lap 22, but I ended up speeding into the pit lane. Just stupid mistake on my own part. So now I was forced into a 2-tire pit stop to make sure we can remain on the lead lap with no issues, and then we had to serve the penalty. So it ended up being a 23-second pit stop for us. Now, as it would have been probably like 30 seconds if we had put 4 tires on the car. So that was just a dumb move on my part there. That's actually the second race in a row we sped at Watkins Glen as well when we made a green flag pit stop after damaging our car heavily after a lap 2 crash in that race. So we've definitely had our fair share of speeding penalties here in the career mode, but fortunately, after only taking 2 tires, we would cycle out to P7. But the one problem was, well, the drivers behind us, they all had 4 fresh tires on the car, and Tyler Reddick would blow my doors right off here as we came through out of turns 2, but the lap traffic was still going to be a factor. So I knew it really wasn't going to be too bad for myself, because we are way better at getting through the lap cars than a lot of these other drivers are. So I wasn't too concerned here. I was confident we would hold on to a top 10. Kevin Harvick, he would go by on the inside as well. I didn't have a whole lot for him here as we were still running it down those lap traffic now, as Kyle Larson continuing to lead the way here with just 7 laps to go for him. In stage 2 now is Christopher Bell up my inside as well now as we were dropping down to about P10. Bubba Wallace behind myself here as we come through the turns for contact with McLaughlin there as we go down this front straightaway. But a bunch of cars, a bunch of traffic, 3 wide in front of us, a mix of lap cars and lead lap cars. Alex Bowman very slow here today in Dover after starting on the pole now as I would go to the outside of Kevin Harvick. Bowman all the way down in P28. Christopher Bell getting through, and I was just trying to make the second lane work. Bubba Wallace trying to follow through as well here as we come through out of turns 2, and sure enough, we get past that 48 of Alex Bowman. Now only a few laps to go at this point in stage 2. Now is Bell. He goes all the way to the top. I go to the bottom behind Daniel Suarez as we come through out of turns 4. Approaching just 3 to go in the stage, and all of a sudden we're going to move back up into P8 here as we dive down into turns 1. Bubba Wallace would actually follow me through there and move up into P9 as we come through out of turns 4. A bit of a slip up there approaching the final 2 laps of the stage, and that allows Bubba Wallace to just cruise on by here on the outside into turns 1. So he moves up into P8. We drop down to P9. Bell right on my back bumper as Larson is coming through to the final lap of stage 2, but the caution actually comes out and ends stage 2 about a lap and a half early for us, about a lap early for Kyle Larson, who picks up the stage 2 victory and a playoff point to him, as Ryan Preece came up a little bit short there in second place. So now everybody again coming to the pit lane, and we held on pretty well there considering what happened. A speeding penalty, only 2 tires compared to everybody else's 4 fresh tires, and still got a top 10 in stage 2 out of it. So can't really complain there as we would take 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 fresh tires. Didn't really see a need to make any adjustments on the car, as it overall still felt pretty good. Well, that was quite the lucky break for us, boys. I mean, I don't think we should have even been anywhere near the top 10, so I'll take it. But yeah, I'll make it up to you guys hopefully here in the final stage. There you hear myself on the radio here as we get ready to go for this third and final stage. Ryan Blaney, by the way, is 4 laps down. I didn't even notice. He is actually still in the race. He had an issue. He was on the pit lane. He came back, but this is huge as Austin Cindric's been getting stage points, and now as we start this third and final stage, Cindric's on the front row actually with Ryan Preece. As a driver like Kyle Larson had a terrible pit stop. He's not even inside the top 10. So Blaney in last place, Cindric in second place, and he's right now going to get a lot more points than Ryan Blaney. So by the end of this episode, Cindric is probably going to be a good 25-30 points ahead of Ryan Blaney right now if it stands like this here as we go down into turn 3. So Blaney all of a sudden could be on the outside looking in here, as this could be the choke of a lifetime, as Cindric was probably 70 points below the cut line from behind Ryan Blaney just recently, and now he could find himself beating Ryan Blaney into the playoffs on points here as we come through out of turns 2. Preece side by side with the McLaren of Eric Jones. Eric Jones in a must-win situation to get into the playoffs as well here, as Cole Custer, another driver we definitely have to watch out for, that could get into range of potentially being able to point his way into the playoffs as well if he has a good run here today. Now as we're in P9 up the inside of the number 14 of Chase Briscoe, trying to complete that pass but couldn't quite make it happen there as we come through out of turns 2. Preece though back out in front over that number 02 of Eric Jones in the McLaren. We would continue, though, to fight our way through the traffic here. Look up the inside of the number 19 of Harrison Burton, and both of us tied currently for the most wins on the season at 5 apiece. So myself and Harrison combined for 10 wins right now on the season as we're up the inside of the 14. Actually, we're going to be 3 wide in the middle all of a sudden. There is a 19, slips up my inside, some contact with Chase Briscoe. Fortunately, that didn't turn into an incident there. Now as Burton, though, gets back clear again, so we're going to have to try and repass him, and I would waste no time on lap 69. Nice up the inside of that 19 of Harrison as we went down into turns 1, and sure enough, we get back up into P7, and we were running down his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate of Christopher Bell, the only JGR driver this season without a win, and the only one not in the playoffs here as we go down into turns 1. So very unfortunate for him, and if he doesn't get his act together probably next season, I would expect to see a change up at Joe Gibbs Racing. So it's going to be interesting to watch that happen now as we go down into turns 3, trying to clear that number 20 car as we come through out of the corner. Sure enough, we do, and move up into P6 and try to run down those top 5 drivers. With only 30 laps to go at this point, we come through to 27 laps to go, and we were sure enough running down the McLaren and the 2311 car. Now is actually the 33 of Cindric goes spinning head on into the outside wall out of turn 2. Caution is going to come out, and Cindric is going to be out of the race, and this is probably the biggest break of the season for Ryan Blaney, who's had a lot of bad luck this season here now, as Cindric was going to be, like I said, probably 25-30 points above the cut line over Blaney, but now he DNFs, and Blaney eventually will pass him in positions here after probably a couple laps after this restart. So now Blaney still has a fighting chance of making it into the playoffs in the next episode at Daytona. And then we actually drop 8 positions here in the pit lane. You see a bunch of mixed strategy. A bunch of drivers gain a bunch of spots, and then some of us lose a bunch of spots. So that was a bit of a shake-up all of a sudden. Here's Ryan Preece, who was leading, is on the row in front of me here. So Kyle Larson, though, he moved up quite a bit after being stuck in traffic. So we were all very confused with 23 laps to go. I guess it just appears that some drivers took 2 tires, and some drivers took 4 fresh tires. That was my only idea of what could have caused that there. So we took 4 tires and, of course, lost a bunch of positions. But a guy like Kyle Larson must have taken 2 tires. Same for like Christopher Bell, took 4 tires for sure because he dropped a bunch of positions as well as we clear the 9 of Chase Elliott. He was runner-up last episode to Harrison Burton at Watkins Glen. Very unfortunate for Elliott, who will point his way into the playoffs, but still is winless this season. Very surprising now as we come to out of turns 2 up the inside of Justin Haley in that Call League racing car, their first season in the Cup Series here in the career mode. Definitely expect to see better things from that team next season, or at least would hope to see better things from them next season in the career mode now, as we were 3 wide here through turns 3 and 4 on lap 80, approaching 20 laps to go with Kyle Busch as well as Keselowski. Somehow no contact there after I had a bit of a power slide on the exit of turns 4 with 20 to go. So Tyler Reddick, though, was out front leading the way over Harrison Burton, Chase Briscoe, then Preece was up into P4. Kyle Larson was trying to chase down Ryan Preece because we know Kyle Larson, Ryan Preece are the 2 fastest cars here today, but Preece was on the move. He was now passing the second place driver of Harrison Burton after he completed the pass on Chase Briscoe, and he was running down Tyler Reddick in no time at all as Larson was struggling now to make a pass on the 14 of Briscoe, but sure enough would get up his inside, but it was too late. Ryan Preece was now leading the way, and here I am actually closing in on Larson because he's struggling so much to get through traffic. So we're trying to pass that 14 of Briscoe as we come to out of turn 4 side by side down the front straightaway with him. 13 laps to go, and Preece is driving away now as Kyle Larson. He would take 3rd place though, sure enough, as I would look up the inside of Burton as well here and try to move up into P4, but you can see that gap up ahead is just increasing between Preece and 2nd place of Tyler Reddick, as I'm struggling a little bit here to pass that 19 of Harrison Burton as we exit turns 4 down this front straightaway. 10 laps to go here at Dover as we go down into the corner, but sure enough, this time through, we will definitely be able to clear that 19 on the exit of the corner and try to run down again that 5 of Kyle Larson, but I really wasn't able to gain anything. But then coming to the end of lap 91, the caution comes out here in Dover, setting us up for a late race restart on the 2nd row on the outside in P4. Larson on the inside, right behind Ryan Preece as it appears. William Byron brings out the caution here in 20th place. There's a lot more cars a lap down than I originally thought, as you see Cindric now behind Ryan Blaney in the standings here as we get ready to go green for what could be the final restart on the day here at Dover. If I'm Kyle Larson, I would try to force it up the inside of Ryan Preece 3 wide into turns 1. Doubtful that anything like that's going to happen here, but nonetheless, we get ready to go green here from P4 for, like I said, what could be the final restart on the day, as Preece would love to get a 2nd win on the season. Now, as I push the back of the 8 of Reddick to actually get him out in front to help myself a little bit here with just a handful of laps to go. As we go down into turns 1, Larson does force it up the inside of Ryan Preece. I back out of it there as I knew that wasn't going to work for myself, and all of a sudden, Kyle Larson to 2nd second place, overtaking Ryan Preece for that third position as we're side by side with Harrison Burton. Down into turn 3, Reddick goes all the way to the top, and Larson to the inside, and he's likely going to clear the number 8 of Reddick. Sure enough, yes he does. Kyle Larson to the lead with 5 laps to go as I go up the inside of the 19 of Harrison Burton. I know how fast that 21 car, though, of Ryan Preece is, so I'm trying to run him down and hold him back from Larson to make sure he cannot attack him for that race victory now, as we will go down into turn 3 and clear the 19 of Burton as we would get up the inside of Tyler Reddick now, coming to 3 to go. We clear him, but Kyle Larson, he goes all the way to the top, opening the door for Ryan Preece here to potentially attack him as we come through down this front straightaway. Preece nearly there, but not close enough as they go down into turns 1. Both of them decide to go to the top. All of a sudden, I realize, you know what? I have an opportunity to potentially steal the win here all of a sudden as we exit turn 2, side by side with Ryan Preece down this back straightaway as we go down into turn 3, but Larson drops down to the bottom this time as Preece remains all the way up by the wall, and we will clear Ryan Preece on the exit of turn 4 with 2 laps to go here in Dover. We've had a history this season of stealing a couple victories when we really weren't in position to win them at all. Most recently at Michigan, earlier this season at Las Vegas as well. Now 5 wins on the season, looking for 6, which would put us back out in front for the most wins on the season. Larson once again goes all the way to the top, leaving the door wide open for myself as we exit turns 4. Not close enough to make anything happen right there. White flag in the air. Larson looking for win number 2 on the season here as we dive down into turns 1 and 2. He defends us on that bottom lane, does a great job of it now as I really can't do anything as we know how fast he is right there as we go down this back straightaway into turn 3 for the final time, close to the back of the 5 of Larson, but not close enough there as he defends well on the bottom as we come through out of turns 4. Kyle Larson comes through to win his second race on the season. We come up just short there, runner-up in second place, but cannot complain about a second place finish when we clearly didn't have a car to run that well. We were barely a top 5 car at best, I felt like, for the majority of that race, so I'll definitely take a second place finish. But Larson back to victory lane for the second time this season, as you see drivers like Bowman, Hamlin, Logano outside of the top 30. Logano was a bunch of drivers really struggling there now as we check out the playoff grid here before we end this episode now. As you see the Truck Series grid, we are well above the cut line, 25 points. Friesen locked in now as you see the Xfinity grid, 3 regular season races remaining. Hauff, like I said, 4th in the point standings, out of the playoffs currently. He will have to win one of these races, and honestly, I'll see if I can try and help him get to victory lane here with Menard behind the wheel, hopefully now, as we check out just in a second here the playoff series, or the playoff grid for the Cup Series now. So still 5 apiece for myself and Burton, but Larson up to P6 there with 2 wins, and Blaney is now out going into the regular season finale at Daytona, 2 points below the cut line behind Cindric, and Custer is only 20 out, so it's between Cindric, Blaney, and Custer for that final spot, as I should have a live playoff grid for that one, as it's definitely going to get interesting. But as always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, you do know what to do, and I would of course like to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this episode now. So of course, before we end things, I would just like to say a quick thank you to the Going Racing members here on the channel: MJ, Aiden, Joseph 9001, RJ, Timothy, Bubba Jr., Illinois Diecast, Brett Durward, Dark Gengar Gaming, AJ Vasura, as well as Movement. As I always say, you guys help me out a lot, and I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one at Daytona for the regular season finale. It's going to be a crazy one, I think. So thank you all for watching, and have yourselves a great day, everybody.